Have you ever felt frustrated that your creative juices weren't exactly flowing? Or, maybe I should say, when is the last time you felt frustrated that your creative juices weren't flowing? Because I think it happens to all of us from time to time. The thing is, many people don't know those things that actually kill their creativity. But that is what I'm going to talk with you today about on The Inspired Writer. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dutta Groover. I am an award-winning speaker and writer. This is my first novel, Different, which got many awards. And I'm also the founder and president of the Awaken School. We help a lot of people become awesome writers and speakers and world changers. That's what we do. And I'm going to share some killer tips about what is killing your creativity. The Inspired Writer is, yes, it's for writers, and it is also for anyone who wants to be creative or be more creative. Any artists, photographers, writers, poets, musicians, whatever you are. Just hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell for fresh weekly content. There are 5 killers that will shoot your creative process right out of the sky. How is that for drama? The first one, I just couldn't help myself. The first one is perfectionism. And this is something a lot of us do. I do it myself all the time. I keep doing it until I catch myself. And I'm not a perfectionist in a lot of areas, but when it comes to my creative work, I tend to be a little perfectionistic. And what that can do, it can get you so much into your left brain, like the side of your brain that really organizes things and makes things right and puts things in order, that it completely interferes with the creative side of your brain, that right side of your brain, and makes it actually harder for you to be spontaneously creative, shall we say. And this is something I have seen time and time again with writers, with speakers, with artists. It's just so easy. It's so easy to do because we want to do our best work for the most part. And sometimes we misunderstand and we think if we have to get this exactly calculated in a certain way, that is going to be our best work, but that's not necessarily true. In fact, it's frequently not true. A lot of times our best work comes when we let our left brain get out of the way and we are more spontaneous and let the right side of our brain really be the one that speaks. and talking about the brain, okay, that's one thing. But also, the best art, I think, comes from the heart, comes from the soul as well. That's the best art, whatever art form you're doing. And the perfectionistic side of that tends to come from the brain. And it's really easy to get into this perfectionistic thing too when we think about people that have criticized our art. And they might be giving helpful suggestions in a very loving way, but a lot of times we feel criticized and we feel, okay, it's got to be right to please them. It could be a second grade teacher that you might have even forgotten her name, but the words that she spoke to helpfully correct you may still be affecting you. And that's why, we tend to go into that perfection mode without even realizing it. So awareness is power. So the first thing that I recommend is being aware, just noticing. I don't think things like that ever completely go away, but just to notice, okay, this is acting on me, that there's part of my brain that is trying to be perfect and it's not helping my creative work. I want to add a part B to that because it's not exactly a different thing, but it's very closely related. So I'm going to consider it a part B to the whole perfectionism thing. And that is overthinking. It's a very close cousin to perfectionism and really thinking about how it should be. I was trained as a screenwriter by Robert McKee, who is probably the most famous screenwriting trainer in the world. In the last set of Oscars that came out, I think there was 16 of the winners were students of his. Anyway, one of the things that he suggests is to spend 3 months, 3 full months outlining your novel or your screenplay before you actually start writing. This is not my philosophy at all. The guy is a genius. He's amazing. He's helped a lot of people become really, really good. But what can happen when you spend too much time thinking about how something is going to be? I don't think that's how your best work comes out. I don't think that's how, well, I know that's not how Aaron Sorkin works. He's the one that conceived of the West Wing TV series, A Few Good Men, and The Social Network, many other movies that are really unique in the sense that they are so realistic, the dialogue and everything. And what I believe is that if so much time was spent, as Robert McKee suggests, so much time was spent thinking about it first and really planning it, they would not be nearly as spontaneous. In my experience also, this is where the best art, the best music, the best writing, the best photography comes from, when it's on a more spontaneous level. And yeah, it helps to really think about something and kind of plan it to an extent, but overthinking is what I'm talking about. And many types of art, I would say, if not all of them, use both sides of the brain. Use the spontaneous side, the right side, the creative side, and also the analytical side. But the question is that within balance? So overthinking is the second part of that perfectionism, and it will kill your creativity. I write my best, and I have the most fun, and I enjoy myself the most when I am not on a timetable. And this might cause my agent a little concern, but I move forward. I'll put in an average of 4 hours a day on my writing. I'm going to move forward with it, but I might spend 4 hours on one page. I might spend 4 hours on one paragraph. That's really rare. It probably won't happen, but I can take a long time to figure out one sentence, and I won't hurry myself. The hurrying is what can kill creativity, and I've seen it many times. People get into anxiety. Oh, I got to get this many words done, and that's great. Awesome if they want to have a quota. Sometimes that motivates people. What I believe happens, though, is it can steal some of the creative edge that a person might otherwise have. That's very important, and it also makes it, in my experience and my opinion, it makes it less enjoyable. And again, that's for songwriting, for writing novels. I have been told, and I'm not going to name the name, but I talked to a very famous writer, and he writes 8 novels per year. 8. Sometimes more, but at least 8. And I asked him, how do you do it? And he said, I'll talk to you on the phone, which was an awesome, very, very generous person, which is not the reason I'm not going to name his name. I'm just not going to do it. I know you want me to. I can feel it. I can feel the vibes through the video. Anyway, so we arranged, I was going to call him at a certain time. I called him at the time, and he had looked up my book on Amazon. So different, this book here, my first book, it's gotten 12 awards. And when I say 12, it's gotten 4 first place literary awards. It's gotten 6 runner-up awards, and it's got 2 finalists. Right. So if you want to call the finalist wins, but that's what it is. And he looked at that book on Amazon, and he read the reviews. So there's professional reviews up there and personal reviews. And he said, your problem is you're setting your bar too high. Well, first he asked me, he said, how long did it take you to write that? And I said, a little over a year, maybe about a year and 2 or 3 months. And he said, well, that's the problem, is you're setting your bar too high. He says, look, all your reviews are 5-star reviews. There's a few 4-star reviews. And he says, what if you had 20% 3-star reviews? What if you had 1 or 2-star reviews? He said, would your book still sell? I said, I don't know. He said, it absolutely would. He said, it absolutely would. He said, and I disagreed with him. I mean, I didn't say anything. He was being so generous with his time and everything. But that's what he said, is this, you're setting your bar too high, and you were making it so you can't get all those books out. And I'm like, okay. No, that's great. If you want to do that, and I know there are writers who do that and make really good money. This particular writer, I know he makes over $1 million a year, I want to say, on all his royalties and book sales. And that's great. Sounds really good, but it's just not what I want to do. It's not why I want to spend my time writing and being creative. It's not so I can make a lot of money. Yeah, I'd love to make $1 million writing, and I hope to one day, but I'm not going to do it like that. That's just not my choice. And the only way you're going to get that much writing done is if you really hurry yourself. So I'm not saying his books aren't creative. I mean, they sell a lot. So it must mean that people really love it, and people go back and they read his next book and his next book and so on and so forth. So hurrying oneself it's a less pleasurable way to be creative, in my opinion, in my experience, and it does not allow as much creativity as it would if you're not. Now, there is another extreme to that I just want to mention, and that other extreme is sometimes people will take too long. They'll take forever. How long have you been working on your book? Oh, about 10 years. Generally, that is not, I don't want to say it's not a good thing, but it can be a way of avoiding actually getting that book to publication or getting that art out. I had a very good friend of mine was working on her CD, and so we're talking about a CD with how many songs? There might 14 songs. I want to say there was on it. I could be wrong. It might have been 15, might have been 13. 14 songs on it, and it took her 2 years to get the CD done. And the CD was okay. It was good. My son's band, and I'm not saying this because he's my son. My son's band put out a CD in a month and a half, I think it was, and it's phenomenal, just phenomenal, and very spontaneous. And it's not like it didn't have any errors, although you really have to look for them. But it just felt good because it was so spontaneous and creative. And again, I hope you're not thinking like I'm saying that because it was my son, but this was a good friend who did this other CD. And it doesn't necessarily help spending too much time on things. This is my opinion. The next killer is something you may have experienced. I have done this many times. I did it yesterday, in fact. And I'm like, wait a second. I know this one. I should not be doing it. But yet I did it. I did it. Go figure. Anyway, so this is, you have a great idea. You have this awesome idea and you don't write it down. So it doesn't kill the creativity, but you lose the creativity. So it's the same difference. Your creative idea or thought can become MIA. It is missing in action. It is no longer accessible to you, so you might as well have simply killed it. So I'm including it in this list of killers, and it's so common. I've spoken to so many students that I've worked with that have had some wonderful idea and they forget to write it down and they lose it forever. And a lot of times, especially, this is just a theory. I can't prove this. I can't give you evidence, hard evidence to show you how this is true. But what I believe is, especially when the creative thought comes from the soul, comes from God, comes from your higher source, whatever your belief is and wherever you think things that come from divinely, whenever it comes from there, I think it's very easy for it to come and then go. For whatever reason, I don't know why that is. And many times I've had what I think is, oh, this is a great idea. I don't write it down. I know I'll write it down later. I have a notepad in my car or whatever, or it's, at home and I'm not there, or I'm working right now. I'm talking to somebody. And then later, like, what was that idea? And it's gone. It's gone forever. So what I do is I have my Kindle handy. My Kindle, I can take notes on my Kindle. I can take notes on my phone, and my phone's over there on the other side of the room because I'm recording videos. I have notes I can take on my phone, and otherwise I'll have pen and paper. I have Post-it notes. If you can see my desk, I got Post-it notes all over the place. And, you could say, well, that's just you, Dada. You're the absent-minded professor, but I think everybody does it. I think having a way to put those ideas down on paper, it's really good. My favorite way is put it on my phone or my Kindle. I use a thing called Color Note, I use an app. It's an app, right? Welcome to the modern age, Dada. It's an app called Color Note, and it syncs between my phone, between my Kindle, on my computer. So I immediately get it on all different devices when I put it down on one. And that just helps me. And that's just a particular way to do it. You can do it any way you want, but it's extremely important to put those ideas down. If you think you'll remember it later, you might. You might. I've recalled ideas that I forgot to write down, and the next day or later in the day, I remember them, but I would not put that to chance. That is my humble advice. Write it down. Another killer is worrying too much about what people think. And this is another one of those things that can go to the other extreme where you just don't care what people think. In fact, when I was growing up, I went to a music-oriented school, and we had a very creative director, and the students in that music program were really good. I just somehow got in there, I guess by luck. But they were so good, they worked so hard. And my best friend in high school, right, was this phenomenal musician. He's still a phenomenal musician. And his taste in music and his direction was very esoteric. And it was not something a lot of people related to. And that was awesome for him. It was awesome for him. It's just what he wanted. It was his choice. He's made a career out of playing music. And his albums don't sell millions of copies like people that make much, simpler, more popular oriented music. And I'm not saying this is a wrong thing. Again, this is my dear friend. I'm not going to name, but awesome musician, dear friend, incredibly wonderful person. And he made a choice to go in a certain direction. And you can make that choice too. And I've known writers that write fiction in such a way that very few people can relate to them, and that is their right. But I suggest you make sure that that is a personal choice. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other extreme, where you worry too much about how people are going to like your art or not like your art. They're going to, oh, yeah, I want to write in such a way that so-and-so is going to really enjoy this, or the general public's going to really enjoy this, or I'm going to create this painting in a way that, yeah, people really like this. And my opinion is that it's not the best way to write. I write with the intent that this is going to upset some people. And I'm not talking about upset like something's bloody and gory and cruel and, emotionally tense. I don't do thrillers. I don't do horror. I don't do crime, and I don't do blood and guts. And I don't want to do those things, right? I got no desire for it, and I got no desire to tweak people emotionally. However, I want my writing to be real and natural, and some of it is going to be a little edgy. And I know that it's going to upset some people, and I'm totally good with that. It's a conscious choice, as opposed to trying to make everyone happy. I have sent out my book, my current book, The Second Side of Anime. I've sent it out to many beta readers, and I've gotten some awesome feedback from them. Awesome feedback from the beta readers. And sometimes I have people say, yeah, this really doesn't work for me. And then I have a choice of whether to take that out or leave it in and let it ruffle some feathers. And then I go back to other beta readers, so, asking about a specific scene and see if it actually bothered them. Usually I'll get a mixture, like some people it will bother and some people won't. And then it's my decision to see if I want to keep that in or I want to take it out or rewrite it in such a way so it's a little different. But what I'm saying is to avoid the mistake of people pleasing with your art. Don't be a people pleaser. Do your art in a way that you love it and get feedback on it, but then decide. Don't just go in the absolute realm and, oh, this person has given me feedback that they don't like this, so I need to change it. I've seen people who did that, and it was a mistake. It was a big mistake. Not that you can't change it when you get the feedback, but you make sure it is your decision and your art is the way you want it. The last but not least one I want to share with you, this is something many of you already know about. There's a lot of science right now about sleep, about how many of us are not getting enough sleep. And I just want to mention it in the context of creativity and how that can affect your creativity. I have come to a decision, and this is after doing a lot of research around sleep. I have an alarm that goes off. It's my Alexa, and she goes off at 9 o'clock and tells me to turn everything off. That's how I have it set. That's when my alarm goes off. I will go to bed typically around 10:30, and I get up very early to write. That's what I like to do. But for that last hour and a half before bedtime, I don't want to be on my computer. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be on my iPad. I don't want to be anywhere that is, looking at a glowing screen. And since I've done that, I get so much better sleep. And I plan my day so I get enough sleep. And this is something I've been doing for the last 7, 8 months to tremendous effect. It makes me feel so much more creative. It makes it so much easier for me to access the higher parts of myself that really want to contribute, which is where I feel the best creativity comes from. So how that works for you, I'm going to let you research this. I could do this. I could speak about sleep for at least a few dozen videos, right? There's so much to be known about it, and there's so much information out there. I recommend you do your own research around it, but understand not getting enough sleep or, too much caffeine during the day, this is going to affect your creativity. Know that. If you want to drink a lot of coffee late in the day, whatever, I can still sleep. I've heard a lot of people say that. I believe it'll affect your creativity. And, same thing about just really pushing it and working through even when you're tired, not getting the sleep you need. You probably know if you need more rest, if you need more sleep. And it's up to you to do something about it. So I'm going to leave that research part of it to you. And that's it. Those are the creativity killers. Thank you for letting me share those with you. I would love it if you pop comments in the chat below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I'd love to hear if you have other ideas for the inspired writer. It can be around creativity. It can be anything around writing, art, any things in that realm. I almost repeated myself there, didn't I? Anyway, thanks for bearing with me. Take care.